The stars held many secrets, but none as dangerous as the one Admiral Vextar was about to discover. His massive ship floated through the dark void, its sensors scanning everything within 100 light-years. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years, and Vextar took pride in finding new worlds to conquer. "Admiral," called his second officer, "we have detected something unusual." Vextar walked to the main screen. His blue skin gleamed under the bridge lights, and his 4 arms moved with practiced grace. "Show me." The screen displayed a small yellow star with several planets orbiting around it. One blue world caught his attention immediately. It had water, atmosphere, and clear signs of civilization. "How many ships do they have?" Vextar asked. "Our scans show only one, sir. A single vessel in their outer system." Vextar laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. "One ship? These creatures must be even more primitive than we thought." The Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds. Most species surrendered immediately when they saw the mighty Zephyrian fleet. Others tried to fight but never lasted long. Vextar expected this new world to be just as easy. "What do they call themselves?" he asked. "The signals we intercepted mention humans, sir. They seem to live on the 3rd planet from their star." Far away on Earth, Captain Min-jun Park stood on the bridge of the Aegis, humanity's first and only deep space vessel. He was a quiet man, with steady hands and sharp eyes. His black hair was cut short, and his uniform bore the symbol of Earth's new Space Defense Command. "Captain," said Engineer So-young Kim, looking up from her station. "We're getting strange readings from the outer system." Min-jun walked over to her console. So-young was the best engineer Earth had ever produced. She could fix anything and make it work better than before. Her small hands moved quickly over the controls as data flowed across the screen. "What kind of readings?" Min-jun asked. "Energy signatures we've never seen before. Multiple ships. All very large." Tactical Officer Jae-woon Lee turned from his station. He was younger than the captain, but had studied every military strategy in human history. "Sir, these aren't human ships." Quote, the words hung in the air like a death sentence. For years, humans had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it terrified them. "How many ships?" Min-jun asked. 12, sir. Each one is 3 times larger than the Aegis." Communications Specialist Hai Jin Choi suddenly spoke up from her position. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's in perfect English." "Put it through," Min-jun ordered. The main screen lit up, showing Admiral Vextar's intimidating face. His voice was deep and commanding. "Primitive creatures of the 3rd planet. I am Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire. Your world has been chosen for conquest." Min-jun stepped forward, his heart pounding but his voice steady. "This is Captain Min-jun Park, of the Earth vessel Aegis. What do you want from us?" "I'm Stan. Min-jun Park. I'm Stan." Vextar's laugh was cold and cruel. "Your world will become part of our empire. Your people will work in our mines and factories. You have 72 hours to surrender completely, or we will take your planet by force." "And if we refuse?" Min-jun asked. "Then your species will learn why the galaxy fears the Zephyrian Empire. We have conquered 400 worlds. Yours will be 401. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the Aegis in stunned silence. Back on Earth, Admiral Sun-hee Kang received the news in her office at Space Defense Command. She was a small woman with silver hair and eyes like steel. She had spent 30 years in the military, working her way up from a simple soldier to the head of Earth's defenses. 72 hours, she said to her staff. That's not enough time to evacuate even one city. "What are our options?" asked her aide. Sun-hee looked out the window at the blue sky and white clouds. Somewhere up there, alien ships waited to destroy everything she had sworn to protect. "We fight," she said simply. The Aegis is our only chance. 1 ship against 12? Her aide asked. Admiral, that's suicide. Maybe, Sun He replied. But Min Jun and his crew know something the aliens don't. The Aegis isn't just a ship. It's a promise that humanity will never surrender without a fight. Annie too. Sun He replied. Annie too. She activated her communicator. Captain Park, this is Admiral Kang. You have new orders. Min Jun's voice came through clearly. Engage the alien fleet. Buy us time to prepare Earth's defenses. And Captain? Yes, ma'am? Show them what humans are made of. Captain Min Jun looked around his bridge at the 3 people who had become his family during their long journey through space. So Young Kim worked frantically at her engineering station, preparing the ship's systems for battle. Jae-woon Lee studied tactical displays, planning strategies that might keep them alive for more than 5 minutes. Hyejin Choi monitored communication channels, listening for any advantage they might find. Are you ready? Min Jun asked them. The ship is as ready as we can make her, So Young replied. I have 17 different battle plans, Jae-woon added. Most of them involve running away very fast. All communication systems are active, Hyejin reported. Earth will know everything that happens. End quote. Min Jun nodded and sat in his captain's chair. Through the view screen, he could see stars that had watched the rise and fall of civilizations for billions of years. Soon, those same stars would witness either humanity's first step into the galaxy or their final stand against impossible odds. Take us toward the alien fleet, he ordered. Nice and slow. Let them see us coming. The Aegis began moving toward its destiny, carrying 4 humans against an empire that had never known defeat. Admiral Vex Tar watched the small human ship approach and smiled. This would be over quickly. He had no idea that he was about to learn why it was dangerous to threaten sleeping giants. The Aegis moved slowly through space toward the waiting Zephyrian fleet. Captain Min Jun Park kept his ship at a steady pace, neither rushing toward battle nor trying to escape. He wanted the aliens to see exactly what they were fighting. Admiral Vex Tar watched the human vessel approach on his main screen. The ship looked small and fragile compared to his mighty warships. Its hull was a simple gray metal, with no fancy decorations or intimidating weapons visible on the outside. How disappointing, Vex Tar said to his officers. I expected something more impressive, from a species that dares to refuse the Empire. His tactical officer, a thin Zephyrian with green skin, nodded in agreement. Shall we destroy it immediately, Admiral? No. Vex Tar replied with an evil smile. I want to capture it intact. A primitive human warship would make an excellent addition to my trophy collection. The 12 Zephyrian ships formed a circle around the Aegis. Each alien vessel was 3 times larger than the human ship, with sleek black hulls covered in weapon ports. Their shields glowed with purple energy, and their engines left trails of blue fire in the darkness. Human vessel. Vex Tar's voice boomed across the communication channel. You are surrounded. Surrender now, and I will allow your captain to serve as a slave in my personal fleet. Refuse, and you will all die. Captain Min Jun activated his own communicator. This is Captain Park of the Earth vessel Aegis. We respectfully decline your offer. Vex Tar blinked in surprise. No species had ever spoken to him so politely while refusing to surrender. Most enemies either begged for mercy or screamed threats and insults. You decline? Vex Tar asked. Do you not understand your situation? You are 1 ship against 12. Surrender is your only option. We understand perfectly, Min Jun replied calmly. We simply choose to decline. Engineer So Young Kim worked quietly at her station, making final adjustments to the ship's systems. She had spent years preparing for this moment, though she had hoped it would never come. Her fingers danced over the controls as she activated systems that most of the galaxy thought were impossible. Engineering ready, Captain, she reported softly. Tactical Officer Jae-woon Lee studied the alien ships on his display. He had memorized the design and capabilities of every known starship class. But these vessels were completely new to him. Still, he could see patterns in their formation and movement that gave him ideas. "I have targeting solutions," he said. "But sir, our weapons won't do much damage against ships that size." "Don't worry about damage yet," Min-jun told him. "Just be ready to learn everything you can about how they fight." Communications. Specialist Hae-jin Choi listened carefully to the alien communications. The Zephyrians weren't bothering to encrypt their signals, clearly believing that humans were too primitive to understand them. They were wrong. Hae-jin had been studying alien languages for years, preparing for first contact. "Captain," she whispered, "they're planning to disable our engines first. Then, capture us alive." Admiral Vextar grew tired of talking. He decided to teach these stubborn humans a lesson they would never forget. "Fire warning shots," he commanded. "Target their weapon systems, but don't destroy the ship. I want them alive." The Zephyrian fleet opened fire with their energy weapons. Bright purple beams lashed out from 12 different ships, striking the Aegis from all sides. The alien weapons were designed to overload enemy shields and burn through normal armor in seconds. The beams hit the Aegis and did almost nothing. Vex-Tar stared at his display in confusion. "What happened? Did we miss?" "No, sir," his weapons officer replied nervously. "Direct hits on all targets. But their hull is still intact. That's impossible. Our weapons can pierce any known armor." On the Aegis, So-young Kim smiled as she watched her engineering displays. "Adaptive armor is holding perfectly, Captain. Their energy weapons are actually making our hull stronger." Min-jun nodded. The adaptive armor was one of humanity's greatest secrets. Instead of simply absorbing or deflecting energy attacks, it learned from each hit and became more resistant to that type of weapon. The more the aliens shot at them, the harder they would become to damage. "Return fire," Min-jun ordered. "Let's see how they handle our approach." The Aegis fired back, but not with energy weapons like the Zephyrians expected. Instead, it launched simple metal projectiles using magnetic acceleration. The kinetic rounds traveled at incredible speed, striking the alien ship's energy shields. The shields, designed to stop energy beams and plasma bolts, were useless against solid metal moving at near light speed. The projectiles punched through the purple energy barriers like they weren't even there and slammed into the Zephyrian hulls. 3 alien ships rocked under the impact, their shields failing completely. Alarms blared across the Zephyrian fleet as damage reports flooded in. "Impossible!" Vex-Tar roared. "How did they penetrate our shields?" Jae-woon Lee was already analyzing the alien response patterns. Every move they made, every formation they tried, every weapon they fired, taught him more about their tactics and technology. The Zephyrians fought like a military that had won too many easy victories. They had standard procedures for everything but no experience dealing with unexpected situations. "Captain," he reported, "they're not adapting to our tactics. They keep using the same formations and the same weapons, even though they're not working." Hae-jin Choi intercepted more alien communications. "They're calling for tactical analysis from their computers, but their systems don't have any data on kinetic weapons or adaptive armor." Min-jun realized something important. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered so many worlds that they had become overconfident. They expected every enemy to fight the same way, using energy weapons and standard shields. When faced with something completely different, they didn't know how to respond. Admiral Vex-Tar ordered his ships to increase their firepower. Purple energy beams became blazing torrents of destruction, striking the Aegis with enough force to vaporize a moon. But instead of destroying the human ship, the constant bombardment only made its armor stronger and stronger. Meanwhile, the Aegis continued its methodical attack with kinetic projectiles. Each shot was carefully aimed at critical systems on the alien vessels. So Young Kim had modified the magnetic launchers to fire different types of rounds. Some designed to damage engines, others to knock out weapons, and still others to disrupt communication systems. Their lead ship is losing power, Jae-woon reported. I think we damaged their main reactor. Excellent, Min-jun said. Continue firing, but keep it precise. We want to disable them, not destroy them. Vex-Tar watched in growing horror as his superior fleet was slowly torn apart by one small human ship. His weapons did no damage, while human projectiles systematically destroyed his vessel's critical systems. Sir, his communications officer called out. Should we call for reinforcements? Vex-Tar's pride warred with his growing fear. Calling for help against a single primitive ship would be humiliating. But losing his entire fleet would be worse. Not yet, he decided. We can still win this. He had no idea how wrong he was. The battle had been going for 2 hours, and Admiral Vex-Tar could not believe what he was seeing. Half of his fleet was drifting powerless in space, their engines destroyed by human kinetic weapons. The other half continued to fire their energy beams at the small human ship, but their attacks seemed to make it stronger instead of weaker. Admiral, his tactical officer said nervously, our weapons are having no effect. Perhaps we should try a different approach. Vex-Tar slammed his fist on his command chair. No! We are the Zephyrian Empire. We do not retreat from primitive aliens. On the Aegis, Captain Min-jun Park studied the tactical display with growing confidence. His crew had performed perfectly, turning what should have been a hopeless battle into a manageable fight. But he knew the real test was still coming. Engineer So Young Kim reported from her station. Captain, the adaptive armor is now immune to their energy weapons. They could fire at us for days without doing any damage. Tactical Officer Jae-woon Lee had been watching the alien formations carefully. Sir, they're getting frustrated. Their attack patterns are becoming more aggressive, but less coordinated. They're making mistakes. Communications. Specialist Haijin Choi listened to the alien chatter with growing excitement. Captain, I'm learning their language faster than I expected. They keep repeating the same tactical phrases. I think I can predict their next moves. Min-jun nodded approvingly. This was exactly what he had hoped for. Humanity's greatest advantage wasn't superior technology or overwhelming firepower. It was their ability to learn and adapt faster than any other species in the galaxy. So Young, he said. It's time to show them what we can really do. Activate the secondary systems. So Young's eyes lit up with excitement. She had been waiting for this moment for years. Her hands moved over the controls, entering codes that only she and the captain knew. Secondary systems coming online, she announced. The Aegis began to change. What had looked like a simple transport ship started revealing its true nature. Panels slid open along the hull, exposing weapon systems that no alien had ever seen before. The ship's engines shifted configuration, allowing it to move in ways that seemed to violate the laws of physics. Admiral Vex-Tar watched the human vessel transform and felt his confidence crumble. His science officer studied the readings with growing alarm. Admiral, they're using gravitational manipulation for propulsion. And those new weapons. I've never seen energy signatures like that. Gravitational manipulation is impossible, Vex-Tar shouted. No. Level 2 civilization has that technology. The Aegis demonstrated just how wrong he was. So Young had spent years developing humanity's most closely guarded secret. Ende. The ability to control gravity itself. The ship began moving in impossible patterns, accelerating without visible thrust and changing direction instantly without momentum. Jae-woon Lee targeted the alien flagship with humanity's newest weapon. Instead of kinetic projectiles or energy beams, the Aegis fired a concentrated gravitational pulse. The invisible force struck Vex-Tar's ship and twisted its hull like a pretzel. Hull, breach on decks 4 through 7. The Zephyrian damage control officer reported. We're losing atmosphere, Hai-Jin Choi had been busy while the battle raged. She had not only learned the alien language but also figured out how to hack into their communication systems. With a few keystrokes, she took control of the entire Zephyrian fleet's internal networks. "Captain," she said with a smile, "I'm now connected to all their ships. I can see everything they're planning." "Excellent work," Minjun replied. "What are they planning?" "Admiral Vex-Tar is about to call for reinforcements. He's also considering using something called a planet cracker against Earth." Minjun's expression turned deadly serious. A planet cracker sounded exactly like what its name suggested, a weapon capable of destroying entire worlds. The moment the aliens threatened Earth directly, everything would change. "Jam his communications," Minjun ordered. "Don't let him call for help." Hai-Jin's fingers flew over her controls. Within seconds, every communication system in the Zephyrian fleet went silent. The aliens could no longer talk to each other or contact their home base. Admiral Vex-Tar tried desperately to reach his command center, but all he got was static. "Communications are down. How is this possible?" 10. His technical officer checked his instruments with growing panic. "Sir, someone has taken control of our entire network. All our computer systems are compromised." The Aegis continued its relentless attack, but now it was using weapons that the Zephyrian Empire had never encountered. Molecular disruptors broke down the atomic bonds in enemy armor. Temporal distortion fields slowed alien ships to a crawl. Reality anchors prevented faster-than-light escape attempts. So young Kim had saved the best for last. She activated the Aegis's most unusual weapon, a device that could temporarily shut down the nuclear forces holding matter together. When fired at an enemy ship, it caused the target to simply fall apart at the atomic level. "New weapon ready, Captain," she announced. "Hold fire," Minjun said. "I think our guests are ready to listen now." Admiral Vex-Tar's flagship was barely functional. Half his fleet was destroyed or disabled, and the other half was completely cut off from communication. His mighty warships, pride of the Zephyrian Empire, had been defeated by a single human vessel. "Admiral," his communications officer said quietly, "the human ship is hailing us." "Put them through," Vex-Tar replied weakly. Captain Minjun's face appeared on the main screen. His expression was calm and professional, showing no sign of anger or hatred, despite the aliens' threats against his world. "Admiral Vex-Tar," Minjun said politely, "I believe we need to talk." Vex's Tar stared at the human captain with a mixture of fear and confusion. "How is this possible? Your species is supposed to be primitive." "We are a young species," Minjun admitted. "But we learn quickly, and we don't like being threatened." "What do you want?" Vex-Tar asked. "First, I want you to abandon any plans to attack Earth. Second, I want you to explain why your empire thinks it has the right to conquer other worlds." Vex-Tar laughed bitterly. "The strong rule the weak. That is the way of the galaxy." Minjun shook his head. "That's the way of your empire. It's not the way of humanity. We believe in protecting those who cannot protect themselves." "You cannot protect everyone," Vex-Tar said. "The Empire has thousands of ships, millions of soldiers. You are just one vessel." Minjun smiled for the first time since the battle began. "Admiral, you're about to learn humanity's most important secret. The Aegis isn't our only ship. It's just the first one you met." The words sent a chill down Vex-Tar's spine. If this one human ship could destroy his entire fleet, what could an entire human armada accomplish? That's impossible. "You seem to say that a lot," Minjun observed. "Perhaps it's time your empire learned that the galaxy is much more interesting than you thought." Admiral Vex-Tar floated in the wreckage of his pride, watching his once mighty fleet drift helpless around the impossible human ship. His blue skin had turned pale with shock, and his forearms trembled with rage and fear. The Zephyrian Empire had never suffered such a humiliating defeat. "You lie," he said to Captain Minjun Park through the communication channel. One ship cannot represent an entire fleet. Your world has no other vessels. Minjun's calm expression never changed. Admiral, you've been making assumptions about humanity since you arrived here. How many of those assumptions have proven correct so far? One. Vex Tar had no answer. Everything he thought he knew about these humans had been wrong. Their single ship had destroyed his fleet, using weapons and tactics the Empire had never encountered. If they truly had more vessels like the Aegis, the implications were terrifying. On the bridge of the Aegis, Engineer So Young Kim monitored her instruments with growing concern. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures approaching from the edge of the system. Something very large is coming. Tactical Officer Jae-Woon Lee confirmed her readings. Multiple ships, sir. Much bigger than the ones we just fought. I count at least 50 vessels. With one that's... Sir, it's enormous. 20 times the size of our ship. Communications Specialist Hai Jin Choi intercepted the new arrival's signals. Captain, it's someone calling himself Emperor Zefkul. He's demanding to know why his advance fleet hasn't reported in. Minjun felt his heart sink. They had won the first battle, but now the real enemy was arriving. He activated the long-range communicator to contact Earth. Admiral Kang, this is Captain Park. We have a situation. Admiral Sun Hee Kang's voice came through clearly from Earth's command center. Report, Captain. The first alien fleet has been neutralized, but a much larger force just arrived. I count 50 ships, including what appears to be their main command vessel. There was a long pause before Admiral Kang responded. Captain, you are authorized to activate Protocol 7. Minjun drew in a sharp breath. Protocol 7 was humanity's most closely guarded secret. For decades, Earth's leaders had prepared for the possibility of hostile alien contact. The Aegis had been just the beginning. Understood, Admiral. Activating Protocol 7 now. So Young Kim's hands shook slightly as she entered the authorization codes. Protocol 7 would reveal humanity's true nature to the galaxy. There would be no going back after this moment. Codes accepted, she announced. All hidden systems are now active. The Aegis began to change again. But this transformation was far more dramatic than before. The ship's hull split open along hidden seams, revealing a massive internal structure. What had appeared to be a single vessel was actually a compact space station. Weapon platforms extended from the hull on mechanical arms. Shield generators created a protective barrier around the expanding structure. Communication arrays reached out toward the approaching enemy fleet. But most importantly, the Aegis sent out a special signal toward Earth and the outer planets of the solar system. Emperor Zefkul arrived to find his advance fleet in ruins. His massive command ship, the Devastator, led a formation that could have conquered most star systems single-handedly. The Emperor was ancient even by Zephyrian standards, his skin deep purple with age, his eyes burning with the fury of 1,000 conquered worlds. What happened here? He demanded. Of Admiral Vex Tar. Vex Tar's damaged ship limped alongside the Devastator. Your Majesty. The humans. They're not what we expected. Explain. The Emperor commanded. In a voice like thunder. They have weapons we've never seen. Technology that shouldn't exist. A single ship destroyed my entire fleet. Emperor Zefkul studied the expanding human vessel with growing anger. One ship? You lost 12 warships to one primitive vessel? They're not primitive, Your Majesty. They're something else entirely. The Emperor had heard enough. I will deal with these humans myself. Prepare the planet cracker. If they will not surrender, we will destroy their world as an example to the galaxy. On Earth, Admiral Sun Hee Kang received the Aegis's protocol. 7 signal, and immediately activated humanity's greatest secret. Around the solar system, what appeared to be asteroids, space stations, and mining platforms began to transform. Hidden hull sections slid apart. revealing massive warships that had been disguised for decades. The human defense fleet had been hiding in plain sight, waiting for the day when Earth would need protection. Now, that day had arrived. Captain Min Jun watched with pride as 50 human vessels decloaked around the solar system. Each ship was as advanced as the Aegis, crewed by volunteers who had spent years training in secret. Earth's children were finally ready to defend their home. "This is Admiral Kang to all vessels," came the broadcast from Earth. "Humanity's time of hiding is over. Show them what we're capable of." The human fleet moved into formation around the Aegis, creating a defensive wall between Earth and the Zephyrian Empire. Emperor Zefkul found himself facing not one impossible ship, but an entire armada of them. "This cannot be real," he whispered. Intelligence reports said they had only one vessel. His tactical officer studied the new arrivals with growing alarm. "Your Majesty, all 50 ships show the same energy signatures as the one that defeated Admiral Vextar. They're using the same impossible technologies." Emperor Zefkul's rage boiled over. "I don't care how many ships they have. Activate the planet cracker. We will destroy their world and scatter their ashes across space." But when he gave the order, nothing happened. "Why isn't the weapon firing?" he demanded. His weapons officer checked his controls frantically. "Sir, all our targeting systems have been compromised. Someone has taken control of our computers." He-Jin Choi smiled as she worked at her station aboard the Aegis. While the Emperor had been making threats, she had quietly infiltrated every system in the Zephyrian fleet. The aliens' computer networks were now completely under human control. "Captain," she reported, "I've disabled their planet cracker and locked out all their weapons systems. They can't fire a single shot." Captain Min Jun opened a communication channel to the entire Zephyrian fleet. "Emperor Zefkul, this is Captain Park of the Earth Defense Force. I believe it's time we discuss the future of your empire." The Emperor's face appeared on screen, twisted with rage and disbelief. "You dare speak to me as an equal, primitive creature?" "Your Majesty," Min Jun said calmly, "look around you. Your fleet is disabled, your weapons are offline, and you're surrounded by 50 ships that can each do what the Aegis just did to Admiral Vextar's forces. I'd say we're more than equal." Darji. For the first time in his long life, Emperor Zefkul realized he was truly powerless. The humans had outmaneuvered him completely. "What do you want?" he asked through gritted teeth. Min Jun's answer would change the galaxy forever. "We want to talk." Emperor Zefkul stared at the human captain with complete disbelief. In all his centuries of conquest, no enemy had ever asked to talk after achieving total victory. Most species demanded immediate surrender, tribute, or revenge. But this strange human simply wanted to have a conversation. "Talk," the Emperor repeated. "You defeat my fleets, disable my weapons, and now you want to talk?" Captain Min Jun Park nodded calmly. "That's correct, Your Majesty. Humanity has no interest in conquering your empire. We simply want to protect our world and help others do the same." "Help others?" Emperor Zefkul laughed bitterly. "You speak like a fool. The galaxy respects only strength. The weak exist to serve the strong. This is the natural order. Perhaps it was the natural order," Min Jun replied. "But humanity is about to change that." On the Aegis, communications specialist He-Jin Choi worked frantically at her station. She had spent the battle learning not just the Zephyrian language, but also how to access their entire communication network. Now she was preparing humanity's most important message. "Captain," she announced, "I'm ready to broadcast on all Imperial frequencies." "Do it," Min Jun ordered. Across the galaxy, on hundreds of worlds under Zephyrian rule, the same message suddenly appeared on every communication device. Hai-Jin had bypassed all Imperial security systems to reach every planet, every ship, and every person in the Empire. The message was simple and translated into thousands of languages. This is humanity, speaking to all who can hear us. The Zephyrian Empire can be defeated. Freedom is possible. We are here to help. Along with the message, Heijin transmitted detailed technical specifications for the adaptive armor, kinetic weapons, and gravitational manipulation systems that had defeated the Imperial fleet. The information was freely shared with anyone who wanted to defend themselves. Emperor Zefkul watched his communication officers frantically trying to stop the broadcast. "Cut that signal! Now!" "We can't, Your Majesty," his chief technician replied. "They have complete control of our networks. The message is being relayed by our own ships." Across the Empire, the impossible began to happen. On the mining world of Keftar, enslaved workers looked up from their digging to see human technical specifications appearing on their overseers' screens. On the factory planet Vexmore, oppressed laborers watched Imperial guards receive detailed instructions for building weapons that could penetrate Zephyrian shields. The human message spread like fire through dry grass, reaching every corner of the galaxy in minutes. Engineer So Young Kim monitored the Imperial fleet's systems from her station. "Captain, I'm reading massive system failures across their entire network. It looks like someone is using our technical data to build weapons and shields." Tactical Officer Jae-woon Lee watched his tactical display in amazement. "Sir, I'm detecting energy signatures consistent with our technology appearing throughout the Empire. Dozens of worlds are already building defensive systems based on our designs." Emperor Zefkul realized with growing horror that his empire was collapsing around him. For 1,000 years, the Zephyrians had maintained control through fear and superior technology. Now the humans had given every oppressed species the tools they needed to fight back. "You've doomed the galaxy to chaos," he roared at Captain Minjun. "Without the Empire to maintain order, there will be endless wars." "There will be freedom," Minjun replied quietly. "And yes, freedom can be messy. But it's better than living under the boot of tyrants." Admiral Sun Hee Kang's voice came through the communication channel from Earth. "Captain Park, we're receiving messages from across the galaxy. Over 200 worlds are declaring independence from the Empire. They're requesting assistance with defense planning." Minjun felt a mixture of pride and sadness. Humanity had achieved the impossible. They had broken the Zephyrian Empire's stranglehold on the galaxy. But he knew the cost would be high. Civil wars would rage across hundreds of star systems as former slaves fought for their freedom. "Admiral Kang," he replied, "prepare our diplomatic teams. We have a lot of work ahead of us." Emperor Zefkul slumped in his command chair, looking older than his 800 years. His empire was dissolving before his eyes, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The humans had won not through conquest, but by giving others the power to free themselves. "What happens now?" he asked wearily. Captain Minjun considered the question carefully. The easy answer would be to destroy the Zephyrian fleet and execute the Emperor as a war criminal. Many species would demand exactly that after centuries of oppression. But humanity had chosen a different path. "Now we build something better," Minjun said. "The Empire is finished, but that doesn't mean we have to be enemies. Your people can choose to be part of a new galaxy, one based on cooperation instead of conquest. And if we refuse, then you'll face the same fate as any other species that threatens peaceful worlds. The difference is, now, hundreds of planets have the weapons and shields to defend themselves. The age of easy conquest is over." Heijin Choi looked up from her communications console with tears in her eyes. "Captain, I'm receiving thousands of messages from across the galaxy. They're thanking us. Species that have been enslaved for centuries are finally free." So Young Kim wiped her own eyes as she read the technical specifications other species were sharing with humanity. "Sir, they're not just using our technology. They're improving it. Look at these modifications the Altarians made to our shield generators. Jae-woon Lee studied the strategic implications with growing excitement. Captain, if all these worlds work together, they could create the strongest defensive alliance in galactic history. No empire would ever be able to conquer them again. Captain Minjun Park looked out at the stars through the Aegis's view screen. Somewhere out there, species that had never known freedom were taking their first steps as independent worlds. It would be difficult, and there would be setbacks. But humanity had given them something precious: hope. Your Majesty, he said to Emperor Zefkul, you have a choice to make. Your empire is gone, but your people can still choose their future. Will you help us build a better galaxy? Or will you be remembered as the last emperor of a failed system? Emperor Zefkul was silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. I will need guarantees. Protection for my people. Many species will want revenge for what the Empire has done. You'll have our protection, Minjun promised. But your people will need to earn their place in this new galaxy. No more conquest. No more slavery. No more ruling through fear. Rublim. And in return? In return, you get to be part of something greater than any empire. You get to help build a civilization that protects the weak, instead of exploiting them. The Emperor nodded slowly. Admiral Sun Hee Kang's voice came through the communication channel one more time. Captain Park, you're cleared to return to Earth. The diplomatic teams are ready to begin negotiations. Captain Min Jun looked around at his crew. So Young Kim, Jae-woon Lee, and Hee-jin Choi. Together, they had changed the course of galactic history, not through conquest or destruction, but by showing others that freedom was possible. Take us home, he ordered. As the Aegis turned toward Earth, Captain Min Jun reflected on humanity's greatest lesson to the galaxy. Sometimes the strongest weapon was not a gun or a bomb, but the simple belief that everyone deserved to be free. The Zephyrian Empire had learned this lesson too late, but hopefully, the new galaxy they were building would remember it forever. Behind them, Emperor Zefkul began the long process of transforming his people from conquerors into protectors. It would not be easy, but for the first time in centuries, the galaxy had hope, and hope, as humanity had proven, was the most powerful force in the universe.